What's happening, everybody? It's Sean with reactions to the classics, and today we've got a Doobie Brothers full album reaction to their album, What Were Once Vices Are Now Habits, brought to our friend, longtime supporter, patron of the channel, Trucker Kev. Thank you, Kev. Appreciate you bringing this one. All the great stuff that Kev brings, everything from Elton John to Paul McCartney and Wings to Santana, all kinds of fantastic stuff that he has brought us. He also has his own YouTube channel. I'm going to link that down below. Check it out after this one. He says he's got a lot of good info here. He says, celebrating their 50th anniversary in 2022, currently on tour. Although it's sad because the original drummer, John Hartman, just passed away. We're going to do a fantastic Doobie Brothers album from 1974. Kev says, this is an album where I have deep cut it on Super Chats more than once in the past. We do live streams on Mondays and Wednesdays, YouTube, and then Twitch. Check that out. Kev says, this is the thing for me about the Doobie Brothers. They're like Steely Dan, and they're a lot like Steve Miller. There is so much killer and seldom hardly any filler. So much stuff you don't hear on the radio, but when you have the album, it's just as strong, which is why this is one of their beloved albums still to this day. It does feature the legendary and one of their most famous songs that everybody knows, Blackwater. We'll get all into that one later. Driven by Patrick Simmons' fantastic finger-picking guitar and voice, and of course, the great sing-along towards the end. Of course, produced by the great Ted Templeman, who a few years later would discover 4 California kids named Dave, Eddie, Alex, and Mike, who would be known as Van Halen. Kev says, this is my second favorite Doobie Brothers album, although this and the prior one, Captain and Me, will sometimes run neck and neck as to what I say definitely is my favorite, depending on what I've been listening to. Starting out with this one, a very easy getting into with the horn section of a Motown sort of tribute powered by Tom Johnson's great vocals, and then proceeds all the way through. Just a fantastic, enjoyable listen from start to finish. So basically, he says he doesn't have any favorites on this one. Just like I mentioned earlier, Santana's Abraxas that he brought us. I cannot narrow down my favorites on this one, or the prior Captain and Me. I like every single cut. There are no favorites for me. Things that stand out is not just the great songwriting and musicianship, but the production too, the arrangements, and a whole lot more. They are what I definitely call timeless albums, and those are hard to find, and there are a lot of timeless albums from the 70s. So I'm going to go ahead and give you Kev's rating just because I gave you all his other stuff. He said my rating's still a 9.25. It's an album along with probably the first 4 Doobie Brothers albums I still listen to at least weekly, if not every other week, for so many years. It just gets so much play. I've worn out vinyls, cassettes, and a few CDs. So that's high praise coming from Kev. He knows a lot about music. Now my quick facts. 4th studio album was released on February 1st, 1974 by Warner Brothers Records. And the story behind this is really a cool story, right? And it lets you know there's so many times you come across these stories in the 70s. I mean, Springsteen went through this with Born to Run in around the same time period here, where the Doobies were in trouble, man. Even though they had this great success, record companies would push you to the moon, and then they would just drop you and be on to the next person because there was so much great stuff out there. So there was no rest for the Doobies. Having released The Captain and Me, they embarked upon another tour. When they weren't on tour, they were writing and recording this album. Given the grueling schedule, they hadn't the time they would have liked to hone the songs and craft them. Instead, some of them were written or completed in the studio. Principal songwriter Tom Johnson penned 6 tracks and co-wrote Road Angel with John Hartman, Michael Hossack, and Tyrone Porter. He also contributed Flying Cloud. Patrick Simmons wrote Blackwater, You Just Can't Stop It, Tell Me What You Want, and I'll Give You What You Need, and Daughters of the Sea. These 12 tracks were recorded at 3 studios, so that makes it more difficult. It took place at not only Warner Brothers in North Hollywood, but also the Wally Helder Studios in San Francisco and Burbank Studios in Burbank, of course. Augmenting the Doobie Brothers were the Memphis horns and backing vocals. Familiar faces, including the great Jeff Skunk Baxter on guitar, and pedal steel parts from Steely Dan, of course. We had Bill Payne, who played keyboards, organ, and piano. And for a little bit extra, they recruited Arlo Guthrie to play auto harp. As Kev mentioned, it was produced by the great Ted Templeman, who was with them for their entire run up until they broke up in 1982. He had a knack for making small but musically important adjustments. I found a lot of stuff he did. He suggested that, and I'll talk about it during the song, but he suggested they run the guitars through Wesley speakers, for instance, and Another Park, Another Sunday was complete. He also brought in the Memphis horns for these sessions, giving this a muscular soulfulness. 24 in Australia, 13 in Canada, 4 in the US. But when we get to Blackwater, there's a story about how this album was not doing well, but I'll save it for that song. So once again, The music will not be in here, but it will be in a Vimeo link below. So please check that out and follow along. And I'll have the lyrics up as always. Thanks again, Kev. All right, we're up to our first track, Song to Sing You Through, written by Tom Johnston. I know a little bit about this song, but I'll save it until it's over. Song to See You Through. I would just say this is like supersized musicianship, right? I looked down at this song. We were 1 minute, 33 seconds in, and there's already so much that was going on. The musicianship was absolutely top notch, but I'm like, we're only 1 minute 33 in this thing, man, and already it is so fantastic. There was no a little bit of build in, right, with the guitar and the horns, but then, man, it just got after. I thought Tom sounded fantastic. You got the double drummer, the two drummer motto in here with Michael Hossack, who would leave soon after this, but he's in on this one, and John Hartman. So just really good. I didn't even mention the start. I did do 2 Doobie Brothers top 10s about a year ago for another one of our patrons, D. We did one for the pre-Michael McDonald years and the Michael McDonald and on. And I really enjoyed the pre-Michael McDonald more. No shade at Michael McDonald or anything, but it was this kind of stuff. And I don't even remember the songs on there. It's been a year and I've listened to a lot of music since then, but this was fantastic. The story was great. The story drew me in from the very start. Sometimes I can't see past a day. I know I'm growing tired and I feel it. Yeah. And the song that I sing when the notes begin to ring, it's hard for my head to get into the melody. Yeah. Day to day, I tell you, I see faces all around me when they start to smile. I just stop for a while and say, baby, let me love you. And talking about a guy in a small town story, he's probably going to live to be 100 because he's happy, and just kind of goes through things. I just wanted to highlight the lyrics on this one because one of the dangers in groups like this is that the musicianship is so unbelievable that you don't give the proper props to the songwriters, and this one is very well done. Next up, we're going to go into another Johnston written tune. We got Spirit, a country rock, definitely built up here, shading more towards country, but really getting after it. Sounded like a finger picking style, but Trucker Kev's actually a guitar player, the patron who brought this. He'd be able to tell you better than I would, but they had a nice layering of guitars. That would go, and then another guitar would come in. But you also had Eileen Novogue playing the viola, but it sounds like the propulsive fiddler role there. And she's going to pop up again. She'll just be known as Novi because that's what they called her. But another well-written song, I think, by Tom, and just kind of drives you on, but it really is all about the instrumentation. I like that Tom doesn't ever try to overdo it, right? He just sings the song. He doesn't try to go on these long vocal runs or do anything with it. He just lets everything work. He realizes that he is just one part of the cog, and sometimes lead vocalists don't get that. So really well done song. With our third track, Pursuit on 53rd Street. We got Tom writing it and on this one as well. Pursuit on 53rd Street. Now this one's more rocking. So the first 3 songs already show you their versatility because of their awesome musicianship. Tom and Patrick on the guitars were definitely the stars here. But, the song is pretty simple. He's on a bus and he sees this girl walk. He gets a little description of her. Maybe that's why he thought it was love at first sight there. But he asked the guy to stop so he asked the bus driver to stop so his feet could touch the ground. He could go catch up to her before she got so far away, and so could lay a line on her. He said it's a chorus that repeats, I believe that the lady's going to bring me luck. So, Tom's trying to get his Romeo on, man. So really good offering. Now we shift to the song, as Kev said, that everybody knows, Blackwater. This one was written and sung by Patrick Simmons. Became the first Doobie Brothers #1 hit single, but this one has a great story behind it. First, I'll tell you how the song came about. Then I'll tell you how it changed their fortunes. Patrick recalled that he chanced on the basic guitar lick for this song while Warner Brothers recording for the sessions for the 1973 album, the one before this, The Captain and Me. He said, quote, I was sitting out in the studio waiting between takes, and I played that part. All of a sudden, I heard the talkback go on, and Ted Templeman says, what is that? I said, it's just a little riff that I came up with that I've been tweaking with. He goes, I love that. You should really write a song using that riff. Patrick says the song's opening section as my childhood imaginings of the South from reading Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer, while the lyrics subsequent to the first chorus draw on his actual experience of New Orleans. He said, going down to the French Quarter as often as possible and going into the clubs and listening to Dixieland. The lyric in there that goes, well, if it rains, I don't care. Don't make no difference to me. Just take that streetcar that's going uptown. It was jotted down by Simmons while riding through the University District on the St. Charles streetcar line en route to the Garden District in uptown New Orleans to do laundry. He said the sun was shining while it was pouring rain the way it does there sometimes. And the lyrics just came to me right there on the streetcar. Blackwater also features a viola performance by Doobie, who I talked about earlier. Despite his encouragement of this track and the meticulous arranging of it, Ted Templeman would recall, "We never thought of it as a potential hit single. I put Blackwater on a B-side because I figured it was an acoustic thing." Blackwater is in fact utilized as a B-side for the lead single, "What Were Once Vices Are Now Habits," the A-side being "Another Park, Another Sunday." And the fact is, the first two singles didn't do very well here. The record company was so desperate that they actually released a single from the Doobies' first album, which was very bizarre. But then Blackwater was discovered in September of 1974. WROV AM, yes, boys and girls, AM is 1974, in Roanoke, Virginia, began airing Blackwater because the Blackwater is a Roanoke River tributary, a 25-minute drive from Roanoke City Center. So it was like, oh, let's try this. With the listener response being so positive as to cause their music director to say no one was requesting anything else. Then another radio station down the road soon started doing it. They had success, obviously, in that area. It comes to the attention of Warner Brothers. So their national promotion director says, well, let's release this. And the rest is history, man. Went to 11 in Canada, 1 in the US. So without this song, I mean, and it just catapulted them, right? Even though they had success, they were in trouble. Warner was like, I don't know what to do with these guys. So, all right, most of you know this song, but let's give it a listen. Blackwater. Now, obviously, most of all of us, I mean, almost everyone watching this, I'm sure, knows this song. It's interesting. I haven't heard it in years and years and years, but it's the a cappella part. It's the last half of the song that really stand out. Now, this song is not well thought of. It's actually much maligned in a lot of critical circles because the lyricism is not. It's not a well-written song, but it doesn't matter. And I mean, there's a beauty to that. And that's not throwing no shade at Patrick. It's just Tom's songs so far hold much more strength lyrically. But this is all about the arrangement, man. It's the instrumentation. You know, having that viola in there is an interesting touch. The a cappella, like all of it just works, man. Like you feel like you're having a party. The sing-along part, as Kev mentioned at the beginning of this, definitely plays into it, man. But it just, you put it all together, mix it up, and it just becomes a great classic rock staple. So I don't really have a lot else to say about this song. I don't think much needs to be said about it. Next up is Eyes of Silver, written by Tom. He says, word-wise, that one really isn't that spectacular. I wrote them at the last minute. This is one of those singles that went to second single, went to 52. Eyes of Silver, man. We are back into the Memphis horn sound. The guitar work on here is obviously fantastic, but all of it, man, it all just works together. That driving propulsion of that guitar riff is just fantastic, man. You know, the song itself, as he said, he wrote it last minute, but I mean, it's about a girl who's got eyes of silver, right? She lies for the gold and the diamonds, but those eyes of silver keeps drawing him back in. But just a nice jam, right? Just get you moving, get you going. All right, now we're already up to the end of the A-side. We got Road Angel, the only song on the album attributed songwriting-wise to all of them. Road Angel. Okay, the beauty of this song is not the lyricism. There's really not a lot to it. He sees this girl who he thinks is girl. She's got a gun strapped on her. She wanted some fun. He doesn't believe it for a minute. She's drinking some moonshine, basically. It's all about the guitar work and the drumming. I thought the drumming was absolutely top-notch on here. Once again, just a jam, probably a great concert song. A good way to finish a side off. And a minute and a half into it, I'm like, it's a weird way to finish a side off. The song's not as strong as some of the other ones, but then it picked up instrumentation-wise and was just fantastic. Now let's start off side 2 with another Simmons written song, You Just Can't Stop It, although Tom Johnston does do the lead vocals on this one. You Just Can't Stop It. The Memphis horns are in here going after it again. You also have Eddie Guzman on congas on this one, and Bill Payne playing a clavinet. So you got everything here. We got the kitchen sink going on instrumentation-wise. And just a song really that's fun. I mean, it's just about the music going and how you got to just shake it and just do your thing. You just can't stop it. I mean, that's the basic thing about it. But it's all about the energy, almost a soulfulness, almost a funkiness to this song. Once again, shows their diversity. And I mean, with that kind of level of musicianship, man, you're getting all kinds of things here. Now we're up to Tell Me What You Want, and I'll give you what you need, which is a fantastic song title. Now, this is the one where you got Skunk Baxter on pedal steel. You also have Arlo Guthrie on that auto harp. So you're going to have some different one things. The tabla by Milt Holland on here. So, okay, that looks like the extra guys on here. So I expect this one to be fantastic. Tell me what you want and I'll give you what you need. I did not expect that, right? This is a chilled back, dialed back song. All that great musicianship on here. Great harmonies. So it shows you a different side of them and how versatile they are. And, you know, I mean, obviously it's sang to a girl. And I mean, I wish I would have used this line back in the day. Tell me what you want and I'll give you what you need. That's a fantastic line. This one was written by Simmons as well. I mean, the acoustic comes on here in such a subtle way and just plays along with the lyrics so well. They just work in symmetry so well in a lot of these parts. And then all the other stuff like the pedal steel is nice and subtle as it needs to be. Auto harp comes in there and punches some stuff up just a little bit. Interesting textures, but the harmonies on, so we've had them in a couple other places that I haven't mentioned, but the harmonies on here is what really showcases for me. All right, we got 4 tracks left. We got Down in the Track written by Tom. Down in the Track, our protagonist is swinging on those railroad ties and wants to get out of here, but he realizes there's only one way that's going to happen, and that's not a good way. He says, well, they're talking around camp talking about there's going to be a fight between old Razorface and Willie Black. One's got a razor, one's got a knife. Only one's going to come out alive. And he gets in that, oh, baby mama, get me out of here. Can't stand no more. This place is going to be the death of me. Believe to my soul that I got to be free. There's only one way it's ever going to be. That's when the angels come and take me away, man. He's going to die there trying to get out of that job. The guitar work is the absolute standout here. I mean, all of it's great. But the guitar work and the way they play off each other, especially in the last minute and a half. But I mean, they're working off each other and playing off each other the entire song, and it really makes it stand out. Now we're finally to that first single, Another Park, Another Sunday, written by Tom. He said, it's about losing a girl. I wrote the chords and played it on acoustic, and then Ted had some ideas for it, like running the acoustic guitar through a Leslie. This one did peak at 32. Tom said it was doing real well when the single released. Then it got yanked off the radio for the line, and the radio just seems to bring me down. Man, those radio stations had a lot of power back in the day, man. They think you're dissing radio. They just pull your single. That's crazy, man. Another Park, Another Sunday. By far the second most streamed song on this album. I liked it. I mean, it was nice and chill. I thought the guitar solo in there was fantastic. Another Park, Another Sunday. This girl left him, and he's lamenting his loss of her. But I thought Tom sounded good. But yeah, just another chilled track that they decided to release as a single, because I guess that was the best avenue for them at that point. Now we got 2 tracks left, but we're going to play them together because Kev said they segue into each other as the Doobies like to do in finishing off their albums. We got a Simmons written song, Daughters of the Sea, and then we got an instrumental. It's a short one to finish us off from Porter, from our bassist, Flying Cloud. So let's let these things roll. Flying Cloud, I called it Flying as we were going into it, but let's start out with Daughters of the Sea first. You had Eddie Guzman returning on congas on this one, and you had that marimba and pandero, as I am from Milt Holland, that added a nice texture to it. So it was a really good instrumental showcase. It's not really about the song, and I thought it was smart to really showcase that one last time, because then when you go into Flying Cloud, just a really good way of like, a lot of this stuff was upbeat, right, and just great musicianship. This was more a finite musicianship, right? Dialed back and just showing you how detailed they can get. So I thought that was a really good way to kind of just ease you out of this 12-track album, which is going to segue me into my favorite tracks. I'm going to get Tell Me What You Want and I'll Give You What You Need will be an honorable mention, the much more slow-paced song. I liked it more than Another Park, Another Sunday if we're going slow-paced stuff, which for me is not really what the Doobies are about, but they did it really well. My faves, also throw in Down in the Track on that. My faves got to be Blackwater, right? I mean, it's just got to be, because it's an absolute stone cold classic. And I'm also going to go with the first song. That's my favorite song on here, Song to See You Through. Now we get to my overall score on this one. This is just a masterclass in musicianship, right? It's 45 minutes long, and it's got everything in the kitchen sink in here in a very good way. There wasn't any songs that I didn't care for. I thought all the songs were good. A few of them were great on repeated listens, I imagine. This is an album, when you got this kind of level of musicianship, it really, really, really encourages repeat listens. So I see why Kev listens to this so much, because that's kind of what you got to do with this. Every time you listen to it, you discover something new, I'm sure, and it just solidifies your love for the album. So on first listen on this one, I'm going to be at an 8.0, but I could see how that would go up if I listened to it constantly. But a really, really good album. The musicianship's fantastic. I prefer Tom's written songs for the most part, and his vocals, I think, are really good. I mean, the guitar work, the drumming, all the other ancillary instruments that are thrown in here and there. It's great stuff. So thanks to Kev for bringing this one to me. Let me know what you think of this album. Let me know your faves down below. And until next time, guys, I will see you.